All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining our first Stop TB Canada quarterly meeting of the year. I'm really excited to see so many returning faces and alongside new members. And it's great to see everyone connecting already. And we'll have some time for introductions if you're new to the group. But really looking forward to working together this year for another impactful year. My name's Lee Wraithby. I'm part of the Secretariat team for Stop TB Canada, and I'm your main point of contact if you ever have any questions or suggestions for the network. We will dive into a round of introductions in a moment, but first I just wanted to pass it over to one of our co-chairs, Tina Campbell, to help welcome you all. Tina?
Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see everybody this morning. I just wanted to acknowledge quickly that I'm joining you guys from Treaty 6 territory in northern Saskatchewan out of Prince Albert. My name is Tina Campbell. I'm currently co-chair for Stop TB Canada. This will be my third year, I believe. Time has gone by really quickly. I've been sitting alongside Dr. Elizabeth Ray as the other co-chair for the past couple years, and it's been pretty amazing. This network has done quite a bit for me. I've gained a lot of experience. I've gained a lot of new colleagues. It's always nice to meet in a group like this because we're reminded that everybody else in this group is fighting the same fight, often facing the same challenges. So it's a really good network of people to support each other. There's so much knowledge, so much experience from everybody from all aspects of TB care and TB research. So it's been really great, and you learn something new every time we meet, every time we host webinars. So I'm very honored to be a part of this group and to continue to be the co-chair for the upcoming year. I'd just like to say thank you to Dr. Elizabeth Ray for being the co-chair over the last couple of years as well with us. And I wanted to mention as well a congratulations to our incoming co-chair, Petra Hemkep. And I'm looking forward to today.
Thanks so much, Tina. And congratulations, Petra, on taking on this role. I'm really excited to continue working with both of you. And I also just want to echo Tina and thank Elizabeth for her leadership over the past couple of years. And I'm sure you'll remain just as involved. So looking forward to continuing to work with you as well. All right, so our agenda today is pretty packed, so we'll do our best to get through everything in our 90 minutes together. But we'll start with a round of introductions before we dive into some more information about Stop TB Canada and the steering committee and what it is that you've all signed up for. And then we'll cover some ways of working together and our expectations for this group. And then we'll shift gears and we'll give a bit of a recap of the work that we did in 2023 and some of our ongoing work streams. And then after that, we will look ahead at some of the key moments through 2024, including a discussion around our plans for World TB Day this March. And if time allows, you'll have a chance to raise any other business at the end of the call. But if you have something pressing, maybe just put it in the chat so that I'm aware and I can try to make time for it at the end. This call will have a lot of information, especially for new members, and in the interest of time, we'll have to keep it pretty high level, but I just wanted to remind everyone that in addition to these quarterly calls, we also have our optional monthly check-in calls where we have the opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into our projects that we're working on. And the first monthly call is actually next Friday, February 2nd at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So just shoot me a message if you don't have that in your calendar already, but you should have the invitation. And then the last admin note that I just wanted to mention is that we do record these meetings just for note-taking purposes and so that members who aren't able to make it can catch up on what they missed, but the calls are not made publicly available. Okay, so since we do have quite a few new members on the team, we're going to do a quick round of introductions. So I'm hoping that we can go around and share your name, where you're located, an elevator pitch version of your work or your connection to TV, and then one just quick thing that you enjoy doing outside of work so we can start to get to know each other a little bit better. So please try to keep your introductions to about 30 seconds so that we don't take up too much time. I'll stop sharing for this so that we can see everyone. And I can start. So my name is Lee. I'm based in Toronto and I work as a senior policy and advocacy officer with Results Canada, which is a nonprofit advocacy organization working to build the political will to end extreme poverty. And one of our priority issue areas is TB, which is the file that I lead. And outside of work, I like to run with friends and recently started a fun Sunday run club with a couple of my friends. I will pass it over to Lena. So after you introduce yourself, try to find someone who hasn't introduced themselves and pass it over, and then we'll try to get through everyone.
Thanks. My name's Lena. I did my PhD in epidemiology focusing on TB at McGill, and I'm now a postdoc based in London. And I've been involved with Stop TB Canada since January 2021, I think, and it's been great. So happy to see so many new members. I'm going to pass it on to, oh, right, I forgot the thing I like to do outside of work, hiking, I guess. So yeah, being based in London has been good for that because you can take the train everywhere and go hiking everywhere. So yeah, I'm going to pass it on to Petra.
Thanks, Lena, and thank you, Lee, for the introduction. And I was actually hoping that Elizabeth would be before me so she could hand over to me as kind of symbolically, but I'll hand it back to Elizabeth then after this. So Elizabeth, get prepared. So my name is Petra Heitkamp. I'm the community manager of the Tuberculosis Public-Private Mix Learning Network. Public-Private Mix already says it. We try to engage private healthcare providers, which is a big issue in Asia, especially, but also in Africa. The network is part of McGill University. I work in the team of Marupai, and I joined the team in 2019, right before the pandemic. And from that point, also realized that a global lens is what I've been working on tuberculosis for the last 25 years nearly, really gave me an opportunity to see what is happening in Canada, and the interest of having the domestic lens within Stop TB Canada has been something that I've really appreciated learning more about, from all the aspects of the newcomer TB to the northern TB issues, and in general understanding the TB landscape between the various jurisdictions. It has been a fascinating journey. So I'm looking forward to taking that agenda from Elizabeth, and a little daunted on that as well. What I like to do outside of work is, for one thing, for example, I'm loving that there's snow, and I'm very happy to go cross-country skiing. What in reality my life outside work looks like, and you'll probably hear me talk about that sometimes, is driving to a lot of soccer matches for my 3 kids. So they don't necessarily match up, my likes and my do's. So Elizabeth, back to you.
How many years of the pandemic and I still can't find the mute button. I'm Elizabeth Ray. I am a public health physician in Toronto. I lead the tuberculosis program at Toronto Public Health. So a lot of my work is the bread and butter of care for people with TB and their families, and contact follow-up and prevention work in the city of Toronto. I have been the co-chair of Stop TB Canada since, oh my gosh, 9 years. And it's been, I gotta say, it is fantastic to have so many of you on. I'm blowing my 30-second intro here. But it is fantastic to see so many people equally, worked up enough about TB to want to be on this steering committee. I feel like I'm reiterating a lot of Tina and Petra's points where it's easy to get siloed working in TB in Canada, just because of how the provinces and territories are set up and across sectors and stuff. And Stop TB Canada has been a fantastic way to make connections across all kinds of different sectors and geography. All of us working towards TB elimination, making the world a better place, specifically around TB. So back at Petra, it's been fantastic being this involved in Stop TB Canada. I also have, you know, zero intention of being a co-chair for life. Thrilled that Petra was keen to take this on, and very happy to stay involved for sure and see where we go next. And who shall I pass to? I'm going to pass to Yasin.
Hi everyone, nice to see everyone, to meet everyone virtually. I'm Yasin Cholikov. I'm a public health physician. I work in Nunavik. One of the few hybrid settings in Canada. And I'm the lead of the infectious disease team. So across many infectious disease files, but TB occupies a lot of my time, given the disease burden and the complex interventions that we deploy for that. Otherwise, I've also been involved in global health for many years in different capacities with professional organizations, representing medical students before, eventually doctors. So I've worked at the global level as well. I sometimes work a bit with the global TB program team at WHO. Yeah, very glad to see kind of how this group works and how I can contribute. Thanks. And I'll pass it on to Ekata.
Hi, I'm Ekta John. I'm the Global Health Policy and Advocacy Manager at Results Canada, and I'm a part of the co-secretariat of Stop TB Canada as well. And I used to work as a journalist in India before I moved to Canada. So I'm relatively new to Canada. I've been here for 3 years now. So when I'm not working, I'm busy exploring my new home, which is Toronto. And I'll pass it on to Nancy.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, my name is Nancy Bedingfield, as it says on the screen. I'm speaking to you from Treaty 7, which is, well, Calgary is my home. And I am currently a postdoctoral fellow working under Dick Menzies and Amrita. So I guess I'm a TB researcher. And it feels weird to start saying that I'm a former TB nurse, because it's hard to shift your identity from nurse to researcher, but I'm slowly doing it. So I've been a nurse at the Calgary TB Clinic since 2008. I think it's getting over 15 years, and then just slowly shifted my focus more and more to research until that's kind of exclusively my focus at the moment. So I'm really looking forward to working with the group. My focus in my research has been, up until now, primarily TB with people born outside of Canada, living in Canada, not so much global. But Amrita, I'm also blowing through my 30 seconds. I'm working with Amrita Daftari, who does a lot of research in South Africa. So at the moment, I've also done a bit of work in South Africa as well. So I'm moving a little bit more in global. What I like to do, but very much interested and want to keep my focus in Canada. So I think I'm just dabbling in the global scene, want to keep my focus pretty Canadian in the long term. And what I like to do I also enjoy cross-country skiing, but last year was a really poor year for me for getting out. The snow is in Calgary is really being affected by climate change. And so the snow is worse and worse. And also maybe I'm getting lazy as I get older. So my skiing, I've discovered this year, is so bad that I feel like a beginner all over again, even though I've been skiing for like 10 years. So I like to cross-country ski, but you wouldn't know it from watching. That's it. Thank you very much, everyone. Looking forward to working with everyone and getting to know everyone better.
And you can pass the baton to someone else.
Sorry, Ho Shen, you're beside me, so I think I'll just do that. keep it easy.
Thanks, Nancy. Hi, everyone. My name is Poshan Thapa. I'm originally from Nepal, and I did my PhD focused on informal providers from University of New South Wales, Australia. This is a group which is often overlooked in global TV policies and programs, but we have evidence that their contribution can actually make a significant impact in improving TV care outcomes. So this is an area I'm really passionate and really interested, the informal sector's engagement in TV care. And so right now I'm working as postdoctoral fellow under Professor Madhukar Pai, based at McGill International TV Center. And what do I like to do? There's a lot. Okay. So I enjoy going to gym, doing yoga, exercising. So yeah, I look forward to working with all of you. And I'll pass it to Monica.
Yeah, so I am like a TB survivor. I got TB when I was working in Malawi, found out when I was in Canada, and then now I live in the US. I'm a PhD student in development economics, and I focus on like impact evaluations. I'm interested in doing something TB related. And then I'm also interested in like climate change, climate mitigation, and like waste trading. Something that I do outside of school is like I like to crochet and I like to bake. So my goals for 2024 are to knit a blanket. What a good goal. So I will pass it off to Courtney.
Thank you. My name's Courtney. I'm in Treaty 6 territory, homeland of Métis. I'm located specifically in Edmonton. I've been managing the research environment at the Tuberculosis Program Evaluation and Research Unit for 14 years now. I have a PhD in medicine here from the U of A, and my research interests are in clinical aspects of pulmonary TB and transmission, primarily, and implementation science related to elimination efforts for TB. Outside of work, I like to knit. I am also currently enrolled in a death doula certificate program because I'm interested in ensuring that everyone can die with someone by their side and in a supportive environment, particularly interested in prison hospice. So thank you. I'll pass it on to Adam.
Hi. And sorry, my camera is currently pretending that I'm in another meeting where I don't have to be talking, and it's much worse than this one. Anyway, I'm Adam Houston. I'm the Medical Policy and Advocacy Advisor for Doctors Without Borders, MSF, here in Canada. Coming primarily from a legal background with a particular focus on access to medicines. And we not talked to oh yeah, sorry, I'm supposed to say something about doing things. I guess in all these people are talking about winter activities. I'm out here in Victoria where last couple of weeks we've been forced to try winter activities, which we don't do here because we have single pane windows. It was the coldest day ever, which meant -13, like literally ever. So not winter. I don't do winter. Which is why I moved here. Let's see. Let's go on to Mark. Did we hear from? I joined a bit late.
Yep, Mark's good. Or Mark has not gone yet.
Yeah, and my camera doesn't work either. So that's because I work in a hospital where it takes lots of different requests to get anything. So my name is Mark Pally. I'm a respirologist here at the Jewish General Hospital in Montreal. We serve the Quartier, the district with the most diverse ethnic population here in Montreal. So we see a lot of active TB. Basically, I'm an on-the-ground respirologist with an interest in tuberculosis. Been fighting with the city and provincial systems for quite some time and want to see whether we can do anything, not just locally and provincially, but on a national basis. So that's my interest in Stop TB Canada. Outside of work, sorry guys, boring hiking and snowshoeing, or today would be ice shoeing. We just had tons of freezing rain here, and very happy to join the group. Thank you. And let's pass it on to, hold on, I don't know anybody, so other than Elizabeth and whatever. So just pick a name for me because I can't even pull up all the participants here. Anybody?
Madeline.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. Hi, everyone. My name is Madeline. It's nice to meet you all. I just relocated from BC to Eastern Ontario on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee. And so I'm, reacclimating to winter. I am currently working as the Assistant Director for Policy and Community Engagement with Smart for TB, a large consortium that's conducting a number of diagnostic and therapeutics trials in tuberculosis. A couple of my specific passions related to TB are around community engagement and community-based solutions and interventions, and also around access to medicines and diagnostics. I also have a background in TB research and have worked in Northern Canada as well, co-designing community-based solutions for the TB epidemic. And I'm very thrilled to be part of the group. I'm working a bit more internationally now, but want to keep engaged in the fight against TB here in Canada. And outside of work, I am doing projects around the house or in the kitchen mostly. And who am I passing it to? How about Luz? Nice to see you.
Hi everyone. I'm really happy to joining to the group. Thank you everybody for sharing the introductions. I'm trying to memorize everyone's activity. I'm new to the group. I'm a Peruvian medical doctor. Most of my experience as a physician was on research, was mainly on a mycobacterial lab in Peru, and TB is a public health problem in Peru. And also I got experience working as a TB doctor on my first year as a clinician. Lately, I had the opportunity to work for an international organization, which allowed me to travel around the world. So I had experience working with TB organization in Asia, Eastern Europe, Africa, and different countries. So yeah, I'm happy to be here because I understand advocacy. It's crucial to make a change on TB around the world. And also what I like is really reading crime books, thriller novels. I'm always interested to know who was the murderer at the end of the book. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Maybe we'll pass it to Daphne.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Please. Who is missing? Magali?
Yeah, Daphne, you can go, and then Magali.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi. This is my first year with the steering committee. I'm from Kudragapik in Nunavik, northern province of Quebec, and I'm Inuk. If you want me to share the map where I am, I'm able to, like, within 5 seconds.
Sure.
If you allow me to share.
Do you have a link that you can post?
Here. You see? So this is where I come from as an Inuk from Nunavik. And I've been working with the McGill University Department for tuberculosis research team, solely working on for researching Nunavik areas where there's 14 communities of Inuit of Nunavik. And I've been working with them since January 2022 as my part-time job because I was at the school and at Concordia University. And I'm still continuing to work for them. How do I stop this share? I forgot how to stop this. It doesn't, okay, I got it. It's been my part-time job because I was at the university school at the Concordia taking art education in community-based. And I finished that in June, and I'm still kind of in the process of finally returning to my home community. And the population is like between 700 and 800. We are often referred to as Twin Town. We have another indigenous community members that are also like 800 population that are Cree, James Bay Cree. And for my hobbies, I'm multi-talented in my cultural and traditional, like as an Inuk artist, and I love to go out and hunting in the nature, like mostly ice fishing. I'm glad to be in this. I'm so like, I don't know what to say.
Thanks
It's,
so much, Daphne.
it looks awesome journey.
Great. Now we'll pass it to Magali and then Yusuf. We'll try to get through this in a couple minutes, but it's so great to hear about all of you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Lee. So my name is Magali Nelson. I'm gonna be quick. I am based in Ottawa. I'm originally from Haiti, so moved to Canada 12 years ago. I work as a senior health advisor for Plan Canada, and I work mostly on Global Fund grants. As you know, Plan is a federation, so we do have country offices in many different countries. Our work on tuberculosis, so it's mostly in West Africa and mostly funded by Global Fund. We do support grant in Liberia, in Niger, in Senegal, in Guinea. So our work is more globally and essentially funded by Global Fund. What I like to do, I like to read. So this day I go more with audiobooks, but usually I was really reading like hard book. I like hard books, so I go to audiobook now, kind of listening book. And also sometimes I like just doing nothing, this one like you feel like not doing anything today. So I wake up often like that sometimes and I enjoy it. I think you say someone that we can pass to. Was it I don't
Yusuf.
remember. Okay, Yusuf, yeah.
Yusuf
Thank
and
you.
then Tamara. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yusuf. I work and I live in Calgary. I've been a member of the steering committee since 2022, and my most recent activity with the committee was when I represented them at the World TB Day presentation with results, Calgary. As some of you can tell, I'm Nigerian, so Nigeria is a high TB burden country. Thus, my passion for TB, because I have experienced firsthand how deadly it can be. I'm grateful to be here. I have learned a lot, met wonderful people. What I like to do outside work, I love cooking. It's my own way of relaxing. So who am I to pass it on to? Sorry, Lee.
Let's go Tamara, Ferdosi, and Jessica.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, everyone. I will also be quick. My name is Samara. I, like Courtney, am in Treaty 6 territory in Edmonton. Courtney is right across the hall from me. I also work with the Tuberculosis Program Evaluation and Research Unit. I'm a research coordinator for the CIHR project Pathways to Health Equity for Indigenous Peoples. And I, for my free time, I haven't been liking the outdoors recently, so I've been really into yoga in my living room. So who am I passing it off to? Sorry. I don't remember.
Ferdosi.
Yes.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Firdausi Mehta. I'm based in Mississauga and Lanark County, where I have a farmhouse. I'm a public health physician with over 40 years of experience. Worked in about 6 different countries across different continents. Originally from India, then worked in Oman for 10 years with the Ministry of Health, and then joined the World Health Organization and worked in Somalia, Kenya, Indonesia, and Sri Lanka. My last position in WHO was as the Chief of Mission and the country representative in Sri Lanka. I've been in Canada since 2014, so about 10 years. I'm an adjunct professor in York University and the Dalla Lana School of Public Health, University of Toronto. I do a lot of guest lecturing, mentoring, etc., etc. It's a pleasure to connect with the Stop TB Canada, and it's a pleasure to connect with Petra again, because I had the privilege and the pleasure of Petra working on my team in Indonesia, WHO TB team in Indonesia. This was just after the tsunami in 2005 and 2007. So the circle goes around, and it is nice to be on the steering committee where Petra is the co-chair. Out of work, I have a hobby farm in Lanark County. Lanark County is about an hour away from Ottawa and about 4 hours from Mississauga. I have a hobby farm. I have over 30 sheep. I have a llama, I have a pony, and I've just had 15 new lambs frolicking about who have been born in the past 2 months. So open invitation to the Stop TB Canada. Anytime you pass by or want to have a retreat, you have a country retreat ready for you. Thank you. Over to you.
That's awesome. Stop TB Canada, strat planning at Firdausi's Farm. Okay, we'll pass it to Jessica, Joel, and Subesh.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica. I'm a respirologist by training, currently working in Toronto and sort of the GTA area, sort of a kind of in between Peel and Toronto, if that helped, in kind of North York. Right now, I'm the clinical lead for the TB program with WAHA on the West James Bay coast. So I've been working there for the past year, and I before that did a mycobacterial fellowship with the University of Toronto. So I've been working in TB only for about 2 years now. So I'm relatively new, getting a little bit more for a feel for sort of the public health and policy side of things, which is part of the reason I wanted to join the steering committee, and yeah, looking to learn a lot from everyone. And in terms of things I like to do, I also like to run. So looking for some Toronto run groups. All right, and I can't remember who I'm passing over to.
Joel.
Thanks, Jessica, and thanks, Lee, and nice to see everyone. I'm Joel Clinton. I work as a project manager for the TB BPM Learning Network along with Petra. And my journey with TB began around 9 years ago after I graduated medical school, where I was a treating TB physician in India, working for the Indian Council of Medical Research in the TB Center. And then I moved to Toronto in 2018, and I joined McGill team along with Petra in 2020, and have been here with, I'm happy to just be engaged in TB and to continue to contribute to ending TB. And like I always keep saying this, and I just wish that I can move on to another disease, but there is more that needs to be done in TB. Outside of work, what I like to do is I have a toddler. She's almost 3 years now. So she keeps me on my toes, spending time with her. And I'm based in Brockville, which is not very far from Mallory Town or the Lanark County. So I look forward to the hobby farm for spring or summer.
Great. Suvesh and then Trevor.
Hi, everyone. First of all, congratulations to Petra for becoming a co-chair, and also congratulations, Elizabeth. I mean, your tenure was quite successful, so whatever you did was quite inspiring. I'm Suvesh. I'm from Nepal. I'm a physician, and I worked as an advisor to National TB program for almost 10 years, looking after global fund grants. Currently, I'm doing my PhD here in University of Ottawa with Dr. Alice Jorwin, and my focus is in tuberculosis, mainly health economic aspect, and I'm more into global TB program. And my research is focused on 5 African countries, including Malawi. Thank you. Trevor?
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry I'm late. A lot of fires burning at work. I'm Trevor Stratton. I'm the Indigenous Leadership Policy Manager with CAN, Communities, Alliances, and Networks. We used to be known as Canadian Aboriginal AIDS Network when we had a single HIV mandate, but about 5 years ago, we expanded to sexually transmitted and bloodborne infections, but also we included TB. But TB is not part of the Community Action Fund from the Public Health Agency of Canada. So we're still looking for funding, lobbying the government, etc. And we're leading into a strategic planning in Ottawa in the mid-February, where I will be making the case for TB and suggesting a way forward for CAN to include it in the strategic plan. As we're pursuing funding for a full-time position, because I do all kinds of things, and I've taken it upon myself within CAN to try to expand our work. And we've had a bunch of postage stamp projects, but no, full-time programming, which is what we're aiming for, so we can properly do this work and stand with you. I'm calling in from Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We're about half an hour south of Hamilton, Toronto, Hamilton, Niagara. The Golden Horseshoe is our traditional territory, which we share with the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, which is a reserve just right next door here. And may be relevant that I've been living with HIV for 34 years, but I've expanded from HIV activism into TB and STBBI. So thank you, and it's good to meet all the new faces.
Amazing. Did we miss anyone? Okay, amazing. We took a little bit more time than I planned, but I think it's really important to go around, and I feel like I know you all a little bit better. So I'm glad we took the time to do that. And I feel like we need to take a screenshot because we have so many people on camera. So if you're able to put your camera on, I think Ekta is gonna help me out because my computer hates taking screenshots. So everyone smile, and Ekta, do you wanna let us know when you're taking it?
Take it right now. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen again. And maybe cut back on a little bit that I was gonna say, but we should be fine. Oh yeah, and I just wanted to mention that Sharanya, our communications consultant, has updated the steering committee page on our website with all of the bios and headshots that we received. So if you want to take a look at it, I think Lena shared it in the chat, and just make sure that we have your information. We are waiting for a couple bios and headshots still. So if you haven't sent that over, please do so. Okay. So now I'm sure everyone is familiar with Stop TB Canada, but I'll just take a couple minutes to cover the basics of the network. We are a network of individuals across Canada who are all committed to ending TB in Canada and abroad. And I just wanted to underscore the fact that we are a network, not an organization, as this really is a volunteer-run group, and it works because it's made up of so many dedicated individuals who are committed to our mission. And our mission is to raise awareness, mobilize communities, and generate the political will to end TB. So I will dive into a bit more information about this work, but I wanted to also just give the floor to Elizabeth to talk a little bit about the history of Stop TB Canada and how and why it initially started back in 2021, or sorry, 2001.
2001, yeah. Okay. So some of you will know pieces of this from different directions. So just super briefly, Stop TB Canada is a country organization affiliated with the International Stop TB Partnership. And the International Stop TB Partnership was established in 2000 as a way to harness hundreds and hundreds of partner organizations at the international, country level, regional, local level, from governments to government TB programs, international aid organizations, community activist organizations around the world. So this is partly because especially for the newer members, if you Google things, so the International Stop TB Partnership is in some ways a giant organization, and we're tiny and, as Lee says, a volunteer network. But small but mighty. So the Global International Stop TB Partnership was established in 2000, and around about that time, respirologist in Alberta, Anne Fanning, was doing some work with WHO and people with the International Union Against TB and Lung Disease, which is another big TB advocacy and research organization, turned to Anne and said, "What are you doing to stop TB in Canada?" And so Anne started the very first meetings of Stop TB Canada. At that time, she's from Alberta, so it was very much started off in Alberta. In 2005, joined forces with the BC Lung Association as the initial secretariat support for Stop TB Canada, and started having annual meetings linked with the annual big North American TB conference, for which the BC Lung Association is the secretariat. So this is the North American region of the Union Conference. And for a long time, a lot of the work of Stop TB Canada was very much, the activities were very much focused around World TB Day, promoting World TB Day as an awareness event at the local level, participating in at the federal level around World TB Day activities and Parliament Hill kind of things, and gradually got more and more involved in advocacy pieces. Including actually Results has been affiliated with Stop TB Canada for a very long time. Sometime in 2014, it would have been, Anne convinced me to take over as the chair of Stop TB Canada. So it was around about that time we started working, I think, much more closely with Results, and again, increasing the advocacy part, but also, newsletters, webinars, bi-monthly national calls, and in 2019, Results, or the secretariat support for Stop TB Canada transitioned to Results, and that really allowed us to take on a lot more projects and work streams to move a lot of things forward that's really difficult to do as a volunteer network when most of us are doing this off the side of our desks. So cannot thank the Results team enough for what they've made possible for this group and the steering committee to actually make happen. Among other things, got a new website, really increased a social media presence for Stop TB Canada, and we're able to do a lot of revamping of structural stuff about how we worked. Brought Tina on as a formal co-chair, and as I said, like very, very happy to be, have a structure for our work now that lets me rotate off and have, new perspectives and new ways for us all to work together, and super happy that Petra is joining as the new co-chair. Congratulations and thank you. One of the things I wanted to point out is in our group, in this steering committee group, we've got a really fantastic cross-section of backgrounds and perspectives on TB, right? We've got people who are healthcare providers, very much, on the ground. People like Monica, who are coming into it with a on-the-ground patient perspective on things. People who are researchers, people who are, TB program people, people who are coming at it from the international global TB perspective, as well as TB in Canada, and even within TB Canada, a bunch of people who have a huge background from the Indigenous side of TB, and a whole bunch of people, like my work in Toronto is very much around TB driven by migration, and Canada's connection to the global TB pandemic. So that's a real richness to bring to this advocacy work. And just a little special bit for the people who are clinicians. I didn't learn anything at all about advocacy in medical school, and I have learned so much from being involved with this work. It's a real, other people have said it, I have learned so much from being part of this organization and being able to take what I see in my daily work and put that in, bring that to public awareness and politicians' awareness to make real changes. So thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. That's really helpful kind of overview of where we started and where we are now. So where are we now? So like I mentioned in the mission, one thing that we do as a network is we raise awareness. And just to provide a couple examples of the work that we do. So in terms of awareness raising, this includes social media campaigns, developing resources, hosting webinars, attending events like this photo here with some Stop TB Canada members at the International AIDS Conference in Montreal last summer, where we had a booth educating people about TB. We also promote policy action. So this includes writing letters to ministers, the Prime Minister, creating petitions, informing policy decisions, meeting with members of Parliament. And this is a photo from a meeting that we had with MP Robert Kitchen, Elizabeth, Tina, and I were at World TB Day last year. And then finally, we mobilize communities. And this involves ensuring that people with lived experience of TB are included in decision-making discussions, inviting them to share their stories to help inform our advocacy, and then supporting our network of people affected by TB that is called TB People Canada. And this photo is from the North American Union TB Conference in Vancouver last February, where two members of TB People Canada, Priya and Monica, who are also steering committee members, had a poster presentation about the importance of communities like TB People Canada. So we don't have time to go into all the things that we've done, but I will direct you to our annual reports, which are on the website and are launched every year after World TB Day. Okay, so now let's dive into where all of you come in about the steering committee. So the steering committee is made up of 30 members, including 2 co-chairs and 5 secretariat members. Of those 30 members, 12 are new. So that's really exciting, and that's why we're taking the time to go through a lot of this background information today. In terms of demographics for the group, about 2/3 of the team are female, 1/3 are male. I've broken down the steering committee into policy experts, researchers, practitioners, and survivors. Obviously, this is very oversimplified as a lot of you fall under different buckets, but just for the point of illustration, this is what our distribution looks like. And then in terms of geographic distribution, about half of our members live in Ontario. Then Quebec and Alberta both have about 20% of our members. We have a few members in Saskatchewan and BC, and then we have 1 member currently living in the UK. So what are you expected to do as a steering committee member? You will have all seen the terms of reference and agreed to those terms when you applied to join the team. But steering committee members are expected to volunteer about 10 hours per quarter to our work. And some of the examples of the minimum requirements that make up those 10 hours include participating in this 90-minute quarterly meeting, providing feedback and guidance on our projects, overseeing media, responding to inquiries and helping with messaging, tracking and attending events that are relevant to our mandate, advising on potential partnerships or funding opportunities, taking strategic action in support of ending TB, and participating in at least one working group. So obviously you don't do all of this every single quarter, but opportunities kind of ebb and flow, and we'll pull you in when it makes sense, depending on your expertise and availability and interest. But on this last piece about the working group, that is a new way of working that we're exploring as the steering committee continues to grow. So I'm going to pass it over to Petra, our incoming co-chair, to give an overview of what exactly this means for all of you.
Thanks, Lee, and I'll try to go through it quickly. So it's super exciting to see the interest. We have obviously the breakdown that you saw is just the steering committee, but the network of Stop TB Canada is much larger, and there is a wealth of experience. And when we have our national calls or webinars, you will see that there is a large group of various people that are involved, and we tap into those expertise and those resources for when there are conversations with members of parliament or when there are publications or specific activities that we do. But for the steering committee, because we have grown, we thought it would be a good idea to cluster some of your expertise, because there is for sure a domestic element and a global element. And to guide the steering committee and the work of Stop TB Canada and advise on areas towards the SDGs in the domestic aspects, which we're looking at TB elimination, is of course very different than Canada's contribution in funding or in general in technical expertise at the global level. And so we would propose to split into a global, a domestic, and we've added on a third. Because of the growth and the recent interest in Stop TB Canada, we would like to have a hands-on committee that also looks at the governance and the fundraising and really building of Stop TB Canada as organization. Right now, hosted by Results is a temporary excellent solution, but we have ideas on how to potentially have a separate funding stream or how to better organize ourselves as organization while we're growing. So those are the three different working groups, and I'll show you that in the next slide. So what we expect in all those working groups, I already alluded to technical guidance on TB practices towards the 2030 strategic targets, move forward with existing projects that already exist, and these are advocacy campaigns or webinars or events, and report on progress. So each working group will report, and you will have a chance to be actively engaged as much as you want. This is all voluntary, so we have developed a small survey where we would like to gauge your interest in which of the areas do you want to participate in terms of providing your expertise, and also are you willing, interested to take on certain tasks, certain leadership roles within such a working group. And what that could look like if we look at tasks, it is we have a quarterly newsletter, and we really lean on the members' expertise to tell us of new publications, of interesting events, of activities that are happening, or activities that you want to put on. If you think this there is a particular topic that is relevant for Stop TB Canada, you are welcome to host a webinar or host a message, host an event online. And so the same with writing op-eds, blogs, or research, pulling research information together that is relevant for Stop TB Canada. We really encourage that and look to the steering committee to take a lead in bringing members together or steering committee members together. Similarly, we would like to look and hear from you whether you are available as a media resource. Are you comfortable speaking to journalists? Are you comfortable speaking on radio, TV, any of the traditional media, or in social media as well? And are you interested in joining any government or MP meetings? Elizabeth alluded to this already, but it's a fantastic opportunity to talk with members of parliament. We've recently had a very high-level meeting with PHAC, with all senior people within PHAC, which was an opportunity to kind of compare notes on where they are going, what we are calling for within the domestic scene, and similarly with Health Canada, with immigration, with Indigenous services, we regularly reach out to governments to let them know what's our network, what we hear through our network, and there is an opportunity for an accountability and at the same time also some advocacy related to pushing for the TB elimination as a plan, global, like countrywide, whereas now we know we have it for the North and ITK has a plan for Nunavut, but we don't have a global elimination plan. So advocacy campaign messages around that is what we look at. And then finally, liaise with TB People Canada and really support their operations and the expansion. So the next slide just shows the breakdown of the 3 groups, as I already mentioned, Canada Domestic, Global and TB, and then the fundraising and operations. And I won't go into the details underneath because I think I covered them all. And if you look at the survey that we put in the chat, we would love to hear from each of you just to understand where you are most comfortable. And again, we do realize this is a voluntary network, so there is no pressure. If you feel just wanting to participate and listen and learn, that is also very welcome. So obviously we would love to have you engage and step up and leading any activities, but it's not necessary. So I'll hand it back to Lee.
Great, thank you, Petra. Yeah, I just saw Yasin's note in the chat that we might have to update the accessibility so that people can edit the form. So I will include that in the follow-up email after this meeting. And in terms of all the information on the slides, I'll also include the PowerPoint in that email. So don't worry about writing anything down. And also I'll share the recording. So we don't have a lot of time for questions, but are there any thoughts or questions on this working group idea, just because it is kind of a new framework, even for members who have been with us for a while? Just wanted to see if there's any pressing questions. No? Okay. Great. So yes, I will follow up with the form and ensure that you guys can all access it. Okay. So now we're going to shift gears into Stop TB Canada's actual work, and starting with a recap of some of our 2023 activities. So this slide highlights some of the activities that we engaged in as a network throughout 2023. Starting in the top left corner, we have the NAR Union TB conference in Vancouver last February. Many of you were there, and it was really great to connect with you in person. You can see in that photo that Priya, Monica, and Courtney at our annual Stop TB Canada meeting, and many other members also participated in the conference and led different sessions. So that's one example of the activities that we can do. Then I've included a couple pictures from World TB Day last March. So we joined partners for a parliamentary reception. We've met with members of parliament, and we joined the countrywide effort to get monuments lit up in red on March 24th to commemorate and raise awareness for World TB Day. So we'll come back to this in a little bit when we get to the World TB Day discussion. I also included a small little screenshot there in the middle of our TB tracker that Lena put together, and it essentially summarizes the commitments that Canada has made towards TB elimination, and how Canada is actually tracking towards them. So I would definitely recommend this resource if you haven't checked it out. And I just wanted to note that Lena is also going to be updating the tracker, and we'll reach out to the steering committee if you have any ideas for what else we should be including in the tracker. And then I included a screenshot of Tina representing Canadian civil society and affected communities at the multi-stakeholder hearing in preparation for the UN high-level meeting on TB that took place in 2023. So Tina represented the network in New York and did a really amazing job raising our concerns and our asks of Canada to scale up efforts to end TB. So we'll share her address in the chat, and I would definitely recommend reading it, or there's also the recording if you want to hear her. She did a really great job. And then after that, we kicked off our public-facing campaign in the lead up to the UN high-level meeting on TB that took place in September. So this involved many different advocacy tactics, including a video to the Prime Minister, a civil society sign-on letter to the Prime Minister, meetings with members of Parliament, and projects with MP champions. So you can see at the bottom there's a quote that we worked with a couple of MPs who were from ridings that had higher incidences of TB. What else did we do? We hosted a webinar. And then, of course, the bottom picture on the right, that's at the actual UN high-level meeting itself in New York, featuring our member, Robin Waite. So this is definitely not a comprehensive list, but hopefully it gives you a good idea of the type of activities that we can do as a network and can inspire our work plan for this year as well. So in the lead up to the UN high-level meeting on TB, which was really one of our big campaigns last year, we focused on a couple of key asks on how we wanted Canada to show up at this meeting. So I will take a bit of time to cover what these asks were, because they continue to be the focus of our campaign. So essentially, Canada did not show up in the way that we wanted them to at the UNHLM, so our advocacy is continuing. Stop TB Canada typically has one more domestically focused campaign and one more globally focused campaign at all times. So the first ask is to address TB in Canada, and we're urging Canada to establish a national TB elimination strategy in partnership with the provinces and territories, Indigenous leaders, and TB-affected communities. We developed a one-pager that outlines specifically what we would want such a strategy to include, and you can find this on our website as well for more information. But here are kind of the 5 key areas that we envision the strategy addressing, and are kind of some of the sub-themes of that domestic work that we're doing. So the first is improving TB screening strategies among high priority groups. Secondly, addressing the social determinants of health and barriers to TB care. Improving access to essential medicines for TB treatment. And this was actually kind of a side work stream that a couple of us were working on, related to the issue of access to rifapentine in Canada. So that's an example of like a side project. If you're super passionate about a specific topic, we can work on that as a small group. Then 4th, implementing a timely TB surveillance infrastructure. And 5th, adopting accountability, monitoring, and evaluation measures for programming. And we have been sharing this ask with decision makers. As Petra mentioned, we just recently met with PHAC to talk about this, and we'll continue calling for this strategy and working with decision makers in the lead up to World TB Day and beyond. And then for our second ask, it's for Canada to increase its investments in TB research and development. And this is based on the fair share commitment that was set by UN member states at the 2018 UN high-level meeting on TB, where members agreed to commit $2 billion annually to TB R&D. So not only has Canada failed to meet its fair share every single year, but the global need has also increased from $2 billion to $5 billion due to years of underfinancing and then also the impacts of COVID-19. So we're calling on Canada to increase its funding for TB R&D to meet its fair share, which is about $50 million annually, to ultimately improve the tools that we have to prevent, diagnose, and treat TB. So those are our 2 main asks, and kind of the foundation for our current advocacy campaigns. And this is the messaging that is embedded in all of our activities. So whether we're publishing op-eds or hosting webinars, posting on social media, meeting with members of Parliament, we're trying to communicate with the public and then also with decision makers what Canada needs to do at a minimum to move the needle towards TB elimination and fulfill the commitments that Canada has made. So we won't be able to spend too much time on this, unfortunately, but if you have any questions, feel free to reach out or join the monthly optional check-in next Friday, and we'll have some more time to kind of dig into this. I think now I'm going to pass it over to Ekta to look ahead a little bit at some key dates to keep in mind this year, and that maybe we can hook our advocacy to as well.
Thanks, Lily. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
So what you see here is an outline of some of the key moments we've identified in 2024, and through individual members of this network and the network as a whole, we'll push for some of our key asks, which Lee outlined in the previous slide, and how we push for this ask could be in the form of an op-ed or a parliamentary engagement or webinars and other events. And to start off, in February, we have the International Development Week, where Canada will host a series of events across the country. And if you are hosting an event or you would like to be a part of an event, please feel free to reach out to us. We are more than happy to amplify your event, and we'd also like to facilitate connections if you'd like to attend an event. And then we have the World TB Day, and every year, as Lee outlined in her previous slide, Stop TB Canada, along with Results Canada, get monuments across Canada lit in red to mark World TB Day. So last year, we got close to 50 monuments across Canada lit in red, and this year we'll do the same. In addition, we'll also be hosting a parliamentary reception in Ottawa, and for those of you in Ottawa at that time, you're more than welcome to join in and talk about TB and beyond. And the parliamentary reception will not just have MPs, but also senior folks at PHAC, Indigenous Services, at Global Affairs Canada, and representatives of various global health initiatives. In April, we have the NAR Union Conference that will be happening in Baltimore. And some of our SE members like Elizabeth are part of the planning committee. And if you have any questions, you can either write to the secretariat or connect with Elizabeth, and we can take it from there. And some of our TB People Canada members have already expressed interest in being there, and we are coordinating with them to ensure meaningful engagement for communities affected by TB. And then we have the World Immunization Week, which may be a good time for all of us to lean into media engagement to demonstrate the need for increased investment in TB R&D and flagging how we're still fighting a century-old disease with outdated tools. And finally, in the lead up to the UN high-level meeting on AMR, we'll amp up our call for TB investments and policy commitments within Canada and abroad, and tying it to the AMR space. And other key moments we've identified are the Global Forum on TB Vaccines in Brazil, and the G20, and the World Antimicrobial Awareness Week. And on December 1st, our partners usually host a parliamentary reception. And as always, we'll use the network to amplify this engagement and any content that our partners send out. This is by no means an exhaustive list. And if all of you have any suggestions or key dates we've missed out, please feel free to put them in the chat or email us. Also, if you or your organization is planning something around these key moments, again, we are more than happy to amplify it using our networks. So that's it from me. Now I'll hand it over to Lee to run us through some of our activities we planned for World TB Day.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, so let us know if, as Ekta said, if you have any other key dates in mind, or if you have anything planned. Stop TB Canada is always looking for events to amplify, resources to amplify. So definitely share them with us. Okay, now we're going to go into World TB Day. I think we got back on track to our timing, so I can slow down my pace a little bit. So one of the first big moments of the year, as Ekta mentioned, and arguably the biggest moment of the year for us every year, is World TB Day on March 24th. I mentioned a couple of activities, and Ekta also did as well, but I just wanted to provide a bit more information and also open up for suggestions. We do have a little bit of time for some planning on what we can do this year. So I've broken it down into public engagement and parliamentary engagement. This is kind of what we have done in recent years and what we are planning to do this year. In terms of public engagement, we work quite closely with Results Canada, as Ekta mentioned, to get monuments lit up in red on March 24th every year. Last year we had 45 monuments lit up. So we also couple this action with a lot of press. So we get social media, traditional media to highlight this effort and increase awareness about TB. So you can join this effort by submitting a request to a landmark or monument in your area by using the link that Lena shared in the chat. And then we will also be organizing some in-person meetups on March 24th to take photos and post about TB. So it's really mostly an awareness raising activity. And I will also share that information in the follow-up email. And then every year, there's also a big push to get publications around World TB Day. So this involves writing letters to the editor in local newspapers or publishing op-eds, posting on social media. This is something I would highly recommend steering committee members to consider, whether it's World TB Day or at some of those other key moments that we looked at throughout the year. Publications are just a really powerful tool that we can not only use to share publicly, but then we can also send that to your member of parliament, for example, or other decision makers. And then we usually host a webinar around World TB Day. So I'm thinking our optional check-in next Friday will probably be dedicated to World TB Day and some of this going into detail more on our World TB Day plans, including the webinar. And we'll probably focus on our domestic ask for a national TB elimination strategy, but it's really up to us to create an event that would be of interest to our wider network. And we have had really great interest in these calls this past year, where the registration for each event seems to be higher and higher than the previous one. So it's a really great way to pull people into the network and to our mission. And then the national call, so that's a bit different from a webinar, just to clarify. A webinar is more of a presentation on a specific topic. It's a bit more organized. A national call is more of a meeting that Stop TB Canada organizes with our wider network to share information and then also have a space for others working in TB to maybe share what their plans are for World TB Day. So the call on February 15th will be focused on World TB Day plans. So we'll share all of the stuff that we're planning, and then we'll open it up and hear from others and always offer to amplify anything else that's TB related that's happening around World TB Day. So you can register for that through the link in the chat. And then on the parliamentary side, we take part in many different activities. The first is requesting meetings with members of parliament, and this is going to be your first task as a member of the steering committee. So Tamara on the secretariat team has put together a template email that you can adapt, or you can write your own email to your member of parliament requesting to meet with Stop TB Canada ahead of World TB Day to discuss Canada's efforts to end TB. We usually secure about 10 meetings around World TB Day, which a few members of the steering committee will attend. If it's your MP, it's really great to have like their own constituent in the meeting. And then some of us have lots of experience leading these MP meetings, so we're happy to support with putting a run of show together and helping you with messaging and doing some of the follow-up. But I think it's a really great way to kind of share our message with decision makers. And then we'll be hosting, as Ekta mentioned, a parliamentary reception in Ottawa, similar to what we did last year with Results Canada on the morning of March 19th. I think it still needs to be confirmed, but it will likely be that day. And this is another opportunity to meet with members of parliament, ministers, and partners working in the field. And I will follow up with more information about that event once it's all confirmed, but you're all welcome to attend. And then typically we work with Results Canada also to secure a statement in the House from an MP to commemorate World TB Day, so we'll work on that again. And then lastly, we may have a meeting with the Minister of Health, either virtually or in person. And this is to be determined, but a few of us did meet with a couple policy officers from the Minister of Health's office earlier in January, and they seemed keen to set this up. So I will follow up and try to make that happen, especially if a few of us will be in Ottawa around that time. If not, we can also do a virtual meeting. Okay, I think that is it. So it's obviously a busy time. So we really appreciate all of your help in making it all happen. I think that the formation of the smaller working groups that Petra mentioned before will really help us all in actually driving forward some of these activities and having the biggest impact possible this World TB Day. But like I mentioned, we will pick up the World TB Day discussion next Friday at the optional check-in, and I will follow up with all of the resources that were posted in the chat and all of the action items in an email this afternoon. So I will pause there because we do actually have a couple minutes for questions, comments, or if anyone has any other agenda items, I will stop sharing my screen. No questions? Any comments, maybe from members who have been with us for a couple of years, thoughts on the working group idea?
I do think the working group ideas are like we're a big enough group of people who are like keen enough to volunteer to actually be on the steering committee. We're a big bunch of people here. I do think it's a nice way of organizing streams of work to set it up in those work groups, especially because we do have pretty clearly distinct lines of activities around the TB in Canada and TB global pieces. And certainly a bunch of us cross over. Like my work in Toronto, it's so easy for me to say to politicians in Toronto, you have 100 constituents who've had TB in the last year or two, whatever, and that is connected directly to the global TB pandemic. That is why you should be advocating for Canada's global contribution. So it does cross over, but for sure the activities themselves tend to be focused one way.
I like it too.
I just want to agree. Okay, Trevor, please go ahead and I can follow up after you.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I like it because, there are meetings when the doctors and the technicians are using a lot of terminology and I'm not really following along until it's wrapped up and summarized. So if a committee, a working group does all that technical work, brings it in a way that I can understand it, that makes sense because that's not my area of expertise. I'm more on the community mobilizing and activism and lobbying and that kind of stuff. So I see that as very important, but I also agree with Elizabeth. Our work is also global and it's local. So I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. Maybe, the Indigenous can talk amongst ourselves and, spread it out a bit. So we're not all on one committee, for example. Thanks.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I agree with Elizabeth and I'm really happy to see the group, to be honest, because I think I have mentioned a couple of times in previous meeting with Petra and others that I sometimes feel lost when everything is mixed together, because to be honest, my expertise is more into global TB and very limited to what Canada is doing in terms of TB control. So I'm very happy and I look forward to contribute more in global TB effort of Stop TB Canada.
Great. Daphne and then Firdousi.
Thanks. Since Canada is diverse, I think I kind of disagree with Trevor to be like separating Indigenous to be in the groups. Maybe I would feel more comfortable to be in a group with all of this team because this is my first year and it looks awesome journey for me. So I would love to be in diverse and not just separated as Indigenous. if you get the idea. Not to be as offensive, but it's just me personally.
Yeah, I think what Trevor was saying is to ensure that we actually have people who can speak to the Indigenous issue on all the groups. And I do want to note that in the form, it's not multiple choice. It's you can pick as many options. So if you want to be in all the groups, you can. It's up to you and what you're wanting to take on.
And the actual steering committee meetings would be all of us.
Yes, we will still have these quarterly meetings and then the monthly optional meeting. For the monthly optional meeting, I will always send an agenda ahead of time so you can kind of figure out if it makes sense for you to attend that one based on the topics that we're going to be discussing. Firdousi?
Yeah, thanks. Just two comments that I have. One is that I think for this World TB Day, I understand the theme is the same as like 2023. Yes, we can. Now, I think the opportunity to highlight amongst policymakers, technocrats, etc., about the bounce back that the TB programs had in 2022, especially large high burden countries like India and Indonesia, where I had the privilege to work for 7 years over there, is something to highlight. I would say that aspect would be useful to highlight, which fits into the theme of Yes, We Can. So that would be a useful thing to highlight, because the World TB Day report came out in November, so it is fresh. And this year, 2022, was the highest number of TB cases which were reported, 7.5 million. So these aspects of positivity would be useful. The second point is integrated approaches, because there are 5 drivers which is driving the TB program. That is undernutrition, alcohol, tobacco, HIV, and diabetes. I know from my work in Indonesia that tobacco is driving the TB epidemic over there. And in India, it is undernutrition. So I would suggest that an integrated approaches also that lens be added when you are coming out with advocacy material. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that. Yeah, I agree that shining a light on a bit of positive would be a good tactic, especially after so much doom and gloom with all of the impact of COVID. So I think we would definitely be highlighting that. And if there are ever case examples from your work, those are so powerful to share, like real life stories. So whether it's an MP meeting or whatever it is, when we can actually talk about a real case, that's really powerful. And then integrated approaches, yes. And I just wanted to flag also that like steering committee members are kind of have free range to write op-eds or take different activities on specific topics. So if there's something that you're super passionate about and you want to do a project, you can either do it on your own or pull in a couple members of the steering committee who would want to contribute to something like that. But yes, agreed. And we can take that offline and work together on that. Petra?
I think actually the working groups, I want to just support everything that you said, Lee, that you will not be excluded from any global discussions or domestic discussions. They will always come back in these steering group meetings, and any major decisions or strategic points will for sure come back to this steering committee call. It's more that in some more detailed line, a domestic group could, for example, look at what do we really want from PHAC when we talk about TB elimination domestically. And some people have much better background on that. If we're thinking about newcomers and TB, that is an area where we know that there is a lot that we need to highlight at the moment with a lot of immigration. We need to do some background work, and there are people that are more fit to that topic than others and would be more willing to contribute. So it's more at that level that we would like to have some technical messaging. And I think the point that Dr. Ferdowsi just brought up is actually a really great opportunity. If you are willing to work in a smaller group and come together about strategic messaging around World TB Day, I would love to see what messages do we want to have for TB in Canada and the global message in general that we want to bring out on World TB Day, because highlighting a building in red is great. And yes, we can end TB is great, but what is the sub-message that is really relevant for Canada from both perspectives in terms of implementing TB within Canada, and how is TB linked to the global pandemic, and what is the key message there? So maybe that could be a first kind of strategic area where, as a working group, we could look at. And I thought that that would be something to pick up in maybe next month before the World TB Day, so that in February we have some sub-messages that to put out, potentially with op-eds or any other kind of activities that we can think of.
Absolutely. Thanks, Petra. Yusuf? I can't hear you if you're speaking, Yusuf. Can anyone else hear him? Okay. Would you mind putting your comment in the chat if you can hear me, Yusuf? Sorry about that. All right, any final comments? We're right on time.
Just a little school of hard knocks. If you're like, okay, maybe I could write an op-ed or letter to the editor, it always takes longer than you think. So seriously, you might think about, well, what is my local paper where I live? And think about like one point that you would be keen to make about TB, whether it's, in your local community or in Nunavik, or it's a global TB issue, and start making a draft. And think about, for sure, think about, are there other people in this group or other people that you know that would be interested in co-writing it with you?
For sure. Yeah, and we do have some guides and resources on the Results Canada website also, if you're new to writing letters to the editors or op-eds, so I can point you in the direction of those if you're interested. And Yusuf, I see your comment in the chat about getting our key messages into mainstream media. Definitely. We had one of our volunteers actually at Results Canada got an interview with, I think it was Global News last year on World TB Day. So that's great. If anyone's keen to reach out to journalists or do a bit of cold calling and see if anyone wants to cover World TB Day, that's another way to do it. We do usually also get some people reaching out to us. So we have had some interviews on radio shows, podcast interviews. So I will let everyone know once those opportunities come up. We'll just see if there's any comments in the chat. Okay, we are at time. So thank you so much, everyone. I feel like this was a really great first meeting. I'm happy that we took the time to get to know each other a bit at the beginning, and hopefully it wasn't too much information for the new members, but I'm always here if you have any questions, and I'll follow up with an email with the recording and notes. Please do fill in the form to let us know what working group that you want to be a part of, and hopefully I'll see some of you next Friday for our optional call. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.